This time I have an Actiontech t3200, which is a VDSL bonded loop modem that's used in both copper and fiber optic installations because it can do both. It's a hybrid gateway, basically. This one came out of a customer's house, went out there the other day, their services were down, and noticed that the modem had no power, and it was not the power supply. So I swapped it out. I figured this might be an interesting one to see exactly what went wrong and see if maybe I can get this thing to fire up. Let's check it out. Today we're going to look at an Actiontech modem just to see what went wrong with it. This one's completely dead. I swapped this one out yesterday for a new one, but there's no lights, nothing. It's dead. And I'm curious as to why it's dead. Is something broken? Is there a connection broken inside, or did some component fail? The power adapter's good. I know that. I can show you that the adapter's good. This is a new adapter. It's not the one that was on it. But there's nothing wrong with the adapter. Okay, 12 volts. It's the gateway itself. So I'm curious as to what went wrong with this unit. It came out of a place that was not exactly the cleanest place that I've been into. They had chickens inside their house. And no, it was not on a farm. And I'm not kidding. I think the side covers pop off on these, if I remember correctly from the last time I opened one. The side covers should pop off. Oh, maybe I got to take out these screws on the bottom. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to repair this unit because this unit is basically recycled scrap. But I'd like to see what went wrong with it. The last time I had one was my own that failed, and one of the chips had a big hole burned in it on one of the modem chips. That was back in the days when it was being used for copper. And I still use the same modem myself. I'm just using it on fiber now. One of the things with these particular modems is they had a bonded DSL modem, like separate card for that, and then you could plug them into an ONT, or you could plug an SFP ONT right into it. So they were kind of universal modems in that respect, as they could be used for copper and for fiber. Yeah, spud them off. The screws were required to be removed, obviously. That's what holds the thing together, but that's right, there's a couple of screws that go through here to hold the other side on. I think there's a couple of screws. There's one there and there's another one over here. I think these two have to come out, and then the other side cover should pop off. Just like that. Okay. Let's see if we can see anything obvious first of all, like broken connections. This is the DSL board. We'll pop that out. Like this has to come out in order to take the board out on the other side. Should lift out just like that. I don't see anything blown up on here. My old one of these chips had a hole in it. What I want to do is I want to see the power connector, see maybe if it's been broken off on the inside, see whether that's what the fault is. Just gotta figure out how to get the board out of this unit. These screws here may hold it in from the other side. Okay, this should lift out. So this modem features a Mocha adapter, which will send gigabit internet over coax. That's what this is for, the coax connector. That's Mocha. The Mocha card is there. What I was curious is the connection broken here? Is it a bad broken connection here on the power connector? Or is it something more serious? This capacitor over here. We can check some voltages and just see whether this thing will attempt to power up. So I've got the power. We'll plug it in and just check some voltages here and see whether we've got voltages get to board. I don't see any power there. Maybe that's why. Maybe the socket is no good. There's power here, but when I plug it in, I don't see any power. I wonder if it's the socket that's broken. I bet the jack is broken. I got nothing. Well, that might be the problem. It might be this connector here is no good. Let's get a close look at it and see. Where is the bottom? Well, it's there. It just appears to be that it's not making a connection. Right, that looks like the spring on the bottom. I'm just going to take that out. We'll remove that connector. I want to just take a look at it. Maybe it's just something that's gotten damaged. I wonder if maybe the client that had this, maybe their dog got at it or knocked it down or something. After all, they did have chickens in their house. They had chickens out in the backyard, and they had a bunch of chicks inside the house. And I made a comment. Dinner. Gotta let the iron warm up. It hasn't warmed up here for a few days because I haven't been out here working in the workshop. The problem with this crap solder is that you really have to apply fresh solder to it to get it to work, because the lead-free solder just does not work very well. I believe the problem on this is the bottom contact here is bent. So I'm just going to bend it back up here. And we'll put the power adapter on it and see whether I've got power on the pins. Okay, let's just plug the power adapter in and get the meter out and measure and see if I've got any power. So I should have 12 volts across two of these pins. 12 volts. That one's dead because that's the switch side. So I now have 12 volts. I wonder, you think this thing might turn on? I think that's all that was wrong, was that that jack was broken. So let's just reinstall it. I'll just use the solder sucker to clear out the holes a bit more so I can put the jack back in. And what will happen is this is going to go back into the inventory to be reused again if it works. We don't use these much. They get sent to smaller communities that are still running copper. Well, even some of the bigger communities that are still running copper. But like we're in this area where I am, copper has been pretty much phased out. It's in the final stages of being turned off. There's still lots of these units out there, But as we do calls, we replace them with more modern gateways. And these other ones, they get sent to areas that are still on copper. I still got some bit of solder hanging out here on this one pin. Just try to clear that off. Alright, okay, I guess the moment of truth. We'll get some lights that blink on here when I turn it on. We should see some lights. There's some lights on the front here. There's some lights on the back. Let me just power it up and see if anything lights up. Yeah, I got lights on the back there, you see? We got lights. So we got power. Excellent. Okay. I think I'll throw this back together, and thermal pads still look to be okay on here. We'll just throw this back together, then ship it back to recycling. Screws go in the back that hold the heatsink against the processor. That's that back in, and then the DSL board goes back in here, and it plugs in. Whether this unit ever goes back into service or not, that is not for me to determine. I just ship it back to our return logistics, and they will take it from there and see whether they'll put it back into service or whether it'll be recycled. Plug in the power. We got lights. Unit has power. The light flashing here on the front. Obviously I'm not going to get a connection because I don't have it plugged into an ONT. Antennas have been reconnected. There's 4 antennas here that are connected by wires. There's one up there, and there's a couple on the back here, there and there, and there's more antennas up here. This thing's got a whole bunch of antennas. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and what else has it got? 7. It's got 7 antennas for 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Anyway, the antennas are all reconnected on this unit, so it should work. That's how they make the yellow light. They got a red and a green that lights up. Anyway, that's basically a look inside an Actiontech 3200 modem. That was dead. Why it went dead? Well, my guess is as good as yours, but I would say that probably the customer damaged it. More than likely, they either plugged the wrong plug into it or something. Somehow they managed to break it so that it had no power. And that's to hold the other cover on. All right, now I got the bottom back on, or the side cover back on, and send it back for recycling, because I'm sure that's probably what's going to end up happening with it anyway. I doubt it might get refurbished and sent out, but more than likely these are pretty old, these units. Like this modem is at least 10 years old now, maybe even older. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed a quick look around inside one of these Actiontech t3200s that were used for years, and again, there's still lots of them out there in the field. Tons. There's thousands of these things out there in the field still, because they were the first of the truly universal gateway that many ISPs used, because they allowed single loop DSL, VDSL, bonded VDSL. You could do 150 megabits on bonded on this, as well as a gigabit SFP fiber module to plug right in, the ONT, and it could also operate just as a router, plugging your other existing external ONT into the WAN port. So these were a pretty good unit. Anyway, I get the sneaking suspicion that that was customer damaged, just the way it was bent like that. They tried to plug too big a plug in or something and forced it. And then called in a trouble call and got it replaced for free, because it was company equipment that wasn't working. Anyway, inquiring minds do want to know, though, is this thing actually going to work now that I've fixed the power and put it all back together? There's only one way to find out. So I've got it plugged into my ONT. I've got a long cord that's running into the house, and I'm going to connect this to my phone. And hopefully it's using the default password, but we'll see. I'll grab my phone settings, and I see tell us 3737, so I'm going to enter the default password for this. Let's check our internet speed. I've only got 100 in here, because this cable that's plugged in, it's only got 2 pairs. I've got a hardwired connection going to my workshop, but it's a Cat5, but I'm only using 2 pairs. The other 2 pairs, one is used for my remote control to control the channel of my remote cable box, and the other one's used for my phone line. So when I built the house, we didn't have speeds. Well, we had what do we have at the time? About maybe 20 megabits, 75 over DSL, right? So when I built the place, I put Cat5 in every room, but into the workshop here, I only brought in basically 2 pairs of Cat5, which was quite common. 20 years ago when homes were built, they ran a run of Cat5 to every room. And then people that had home phone, they used the blue-white pair for voice, and they used the orange and the green pair for data, because you could get 100 megabit, and at the time, nobody was getting even 100 megabit. So that was what was done when I built my place. Now, some of the jacks in the house I've converted, obviously, to full Ethernet, where I don't have a home phone there, where I've run a second line in, but out into the workshop here, I only ran in one run, and it's shared. So I have it for Ethernet and as well as my home phone, and I use the brown pair to send signals from my remote control. This remote sends a signal back to an IR diode in my main closet that can control the channel of my in-house cable TV, which feeds into a modulator, so that any TV in the house, I can see what's on the main TV. It feeds by HDMI into my system and then out to my big TV in the media room, but the composite output feeds into a modulator, which I can then put on any TV. So if, say I want to watch the game and I'm out in the backyard, watching spring hockey or something, I have a little TV out there that's just an old tube TV, and I can tune in my cable box. So remote control. And I have a couple of remotes in different rooms that I do the same thing with. I can change the channel of that one cable box that feeds the house. Anyway, that limits the speed I can get out in the workshop over Ethernet to 100 megabits, which again is more than enough because I'm only on a 150 service anyway, so whichever outlets in the house are shared with phone, I'm limited to 100. And the ones that are full wide open, well, I got gigabit there, but my internet speed's only 150. Anyway, this unit is working now. I just wanted to show that, you know, went back together and it's fully functional. So I'll say thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.